Welcome back to the Pilates Exchange. I'm really, really excited about this conversation that I'm going to be and we're going to be having with Gülden Hennemann. And you have a lot in store for you today, so please stick around for the entire thing. This is also in celebration of International Women's Day, which is right around the corner. It's going to be a deep conversation. Bear with us the whole time because a lot of our talks on this podcast have, it's all to do with Pilates teaching and business ownership and all the things that surround that type of, let's say, behoof, like what you do for a living, right? And this is not outside of this. So our conversation today is going to go really deep and we'll explain why when we get there. But first, I want to introduce you to my guest in a different way. I'm going to tell you a story about how we met. And then this wonderful woman is going to explain what it is she does. Every time that someone comes new into our studio space, and in this case, Gülden, you came in for a personal training before you started. I really like to get to know the person that's in front of me. So we started talking and started moving a little bit. And, one of the things that you said, or I asked is about your job. And you said, yeah, it's a stressful job. And I said, okay, what are you kind of working on? What would you like to do? I'd like to reduce some stress. Okay, well, that's like 99% of everyone that comes in. And I take that, yes, everyone's job is stressful. I get that. But then I asked a few more questions and I was like, oh no, yes, it is. It's on a different level. So she says, yeah, I worked with incarcerated terrorists and I go in and talk with these people. And I was like, oh no, okay, I get it. We're going to be working on a totally different level to get to what our goals were at that time, is to be really feeling empowered and in our bodies and comfortable and just building strength on every single level. So that was our first introduction. Gülden, can you tell them what you do for a living?
It's top secret. No.
Okay, no.
Today I make an exception.
Okay.
So so when I started with my job focusing on radicalization and extremism, I started to do that at we call it Verfassungsschutz, Domestic Intelligence Service. So what I was, you could say, a classical analyst, focused on Islamist radicalization and extremism in that field of area. Also due to my Turkish background, I was born in Munich, but my parents were from Turkey both. So during those years, I also became a liaison officer for the Bavarian prison system on these topics. And Bavaria has 36 prisons in total. And it turned out that there were inmates who got radicalized during the imprisonment, but also a few people who got convicted due to terror reasons. And that's how I ended, this might sound weird, but this is how I ended up in prison. So my job is actually, I'm a political scientist, but I also studied Islamic studies and modern history. But my job is to focus on the ideology of inmates, so of those inmates who might get radicalized, who are in some sort of crisis during that imprisonment, but also those who are convicted terrorists. So I sit like we sit here, maybe not so close, but there is no separation. So I sit in front of these people. We look into each other's eyes, and I don't wear a uniform, so I look like a civilian. And usually I'm a woman they don't know. And so the challenge is within usually the first 2 or 3 minutes to kind of catch their attention, because they don't have to talk to me. It's based on pure free will. And it's always a challenge to get the trust of these people that they open up about their ideological views. because they are used to being, kind of also condemned for what they think and what they believe. And I mean, I hear things that are really disturbing, I would say. I mean, sometimes I leave a 3-hour conversation with a convicted terrorist, and after that I realize what he told me. And it's not about the crimes he committed, that's not the point, but the worldview they have. And especially as a woman, I hear things that really are scary, because these people get released at some point. And to be honest, I'm always like, if I can, from 10 inmates, if I can make 2 inmates rethink their views, then it's already a victory. That's a lot. So when these people get released, I'm always very like reflecting on the question if I had an impact. So seeing, I mean, you look at me, how I look, this is how inmates see me. So I realized that in such an environment, I don't want to lose my femininity. I don't want to lose what took me so long to be myself, to be a woman that also shows her femininity. And I come from a cultural background that partially condemns femininity and wants women to hide behind almost curtains, because a woman is a constant threat to the man's world. And this ideology is also working with these narratives. And I think that was the reason I ended up at your studio, because I was like, I need help with someone who understands in what kind of environment I work, but who also respects that I cannot change now completely. And that's the feeling you gave me. You were so respectful, but it felt like you took my hand and looked me in the eye and said, I can help you. We can get there where you want to get. And it was about reducing stress, but also how to stay feminine and true to myself as a woman in an environment that is male-dominated, not only because of the inmates, but because also of my colleagues. I mean, the prison system, we have many women who work there, but the security services, intelligence, police, it's a very male-dominated environment. And when I look at my colleagues, I've never seen a female colleague wearing red lipstick, to be honest, during a meeting. I cannot remember a situation like that, so...
Oh, that's really interesting.
It was a long introduction, so I hope that was okay.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It brings. I have so many questions. I'm so I want to dive in. How does you briefly mentioned how your maybe view of body, of yourself, and femininity, and what it means to be woman has changed over time because of maybe how you grew up to right now. Can you tell me a little bit more of what you mean, or what that looks like for you?
So I grew up, I mean, my parents were, when you would look like at such thing like a profile, I would describe them, my father was a communist, my mother was a leftist. So you would expect an environment, a family that would be very open, very liberal. They were not putting me under a headscarf, because that was against their belief. But still, they believed that there is something like the honor of a family, and that it has to be protected, and that women are responsible for that. And that's a narrative. I think that's the reason why I ended up focusing so much on Islamism, because that's a narrative Islamists also use, that a woman is a threat. It doesn't matter what age, even as a child. And she is like a companion of the devil. And if something goes wrong, like rape, any sort of violence against women, certain parts of this culture condemn the women and blame the women, because they are like, you must have done something to provoke that reaction, that rape, that violence. And that's a narrative that I totally refuse. But it is hard to, when you grow up in such an environment that has that kind of image of a woman, what should be a good woman, and you see on the other side, in the outside world, how women grow up. I always knew as a growing person that I don't want to stay in that environment, that I don't accept that narrative. But it was tough to get out of this. It was harsh, because usually you just sit and accept as a woman. And I think with that, and as part of my biography, and then professionally dealing with radicals who support that kind of narrative, and working in an environment that also kind of blames women and wants to put them in a certain category and certain appearance. I mean, women look like, they wear suits and look like men, and that's what at some point I thought, I don't want to look like a male version of me.
Yeah.
Because it felt like coping men.
Yeah.
And I realized, I tried that, to be honest, because I thought maybe that's how it's done in the system. I tried that, and I realized this doesn't feel good for me. And with your studio, with Pilates, I started to get a feeling for my body. I changed my posture. I changed my view about my body, even the parts I don't like. I'm now 45. I look at pictures 30 years ago. I'm like, oh, I was so thin. Or 20 years ago, oh, I was so thin. And yeah, I'm not thin anymore. I'm in perimenopause, but still, I don't want to be labeled as something that is not attractive anymore and not feminine anymore. I feel like I'm now at an age where I have the confidence to just say, okay, I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. And Pilates actually helped me to do that.
Good. I think perimenopause also does it. I think there's a certain point we don't no more F's to give. But thank you for that, because I really believe in the power of transformation of, whether it's Pilates or movement or yoga or whatever it is. I think that the more embodied we are, the more freedom we have. And this is something that I've been, freedom mentally, freedom physically, and I've been doing a lot of thinking about that, because it's, bringing it back into, for our Pilates friends at home, why are we having such a deep conversation about, radicalization and extremism and terrorism and all these things? And the point is that in all of the research that I've done, the woman is really the culprit for we're the instigator for everything.
Yeah, in every ideology at least.
And that is just crazy times. And then we have, the more empowerment that we could give to women in our place, in our spaces, because we have a lot of deconstruction what we need to do from every society that I've been in and have the honor of speaking to people from. So we have that part of it. And I think that in our movement spaces, we have such an opportunity to deconstruct what that is. What is the archetype of women? What can we do with that? And then also to be really present in making the decisions that we make around what is it that we are actually doing. So yes, we have this beautiful Pilates method. Great. Thank you, Joseph Pilates, for creating this. But we need to be really conscious of the wording that we put around also, so that we don't fall into the trap of so we have maybe the extremist side of blaming things on women, and then we have the other side that I would say it's like the corporate extremism, where big business also has a lot of reasons to put women in a box because they could sell more, they can control more, they can do that. And that's completely different from what we're talking about. But both of those types of things require a little bit of thinking about, I believe. And then on the Pilates side of it is like, how much of it do you want to partake in? Like, we know that maybe we'll leave that for another episode and focus back onto, you say also that women in all these radicalized or maybe extremist situations, does it come down to like women are being the culprit of everything? I mean, I can't think of one that's
of course,
outside.
right wing and of course religious extremism.
Yeah.
I mean, every religion that has tendencies to a radical interpretation tends to have this view on women that they should stay at home, should not be allowed to do things on their own, and should hide their body parts because there is this image or this belief that women are, as I said before, some sort of companion to the devil and always tries to influence men in a negative way, which is insane. And when I look now, we're in the year 2026, and these narratives are having a comeback, I would say, and in an even more intense way. So we have, even on the Christian side, radicals becoming stronger, also promoting this treadwife image of just focusing on raising kids and just give birth to so many kids as possible, and just to serve your man. I mean, don't get me wrong. If women, I'm sure there are women somewhere here in the world who are happy with that. That it's fine. Yeah. But I have a problem if it becomes an ideology, and with that a movement that proactively tries to influence a society and takes the freedom of choice for us women and just decides, no, based on whatever religious book or whatever right-wing narrative, you as a woman, you have to stay in a certain category and you're not allowed to move. And I think it's more important now that we, at this age, like we're the middle agers, I would say, that we keep the door open for the younger generation and that we discuss these things and show them how they can find a way to be able to make their own choices. If that's their choice, to live a life like that, okay, then do it. But there are, if you want to live a different life, then it should be able for these women to break out and just choose their own path. And I think certain sports can help with that, but for me personally, Pilates was the difference I needed, because I learned how to breathe, how to listen while I'm doing a certain movement, trying to understand, okay, if I move my leg a bit higher, what effect does that have on my belly or on my butt or whatever, on my breathing? Sometimes I have the feeling I don't breathe at all through a whole class. And it's so funny because you guys see it and you're like, don't forget to breathe. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's true. And it makes such a difference. Yeah. And by that, I got a certain confidence I so far didn't have. And it really changed my whole mindset. And it became, for me, it became life-changing. And that's what I hope, that if people are listening there to our conversation today, that maybe young women who are struggling in life would just give it a try. Yeah. Because you have to find out which sport really works for you, I would say. I mean, some people need constant adrenaline. I would get nuts with constant adrenaline. Yeah, it would never work for me. I have enough adrenaline the whole day at work. Yeah. I need something that that takes me out of this environment and just tells me for 1 hour, now you focus on your breathing and on your movement. and try to leave for an hour at least everything outside. And that's what I get from your studio and from your classes.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah. When you're in our space, I would say that, I mean, every studio space has their own collective of people, their own community. What I think is maybe a little bit unique in our area is that we are a very big mix of cultures, which doesn't happen in all places. Like Nuremberg is pretty special for that. And then also through the years, we've had refugees from different communities that are in our space. We've had all sorts of people that come in. And so it was clear to us from the very beginning, from also our work, because we used to also do a lot of outreach with refugee youth, so teaching dance and helping them try to integrate in that way. And we try to bring those skills into our studio as well. And a lot of it for us comes naturally from our dance background, is like what you're saying, is that breathing, focusing on the sensations that are in your body, if that feels safe. There's some reasons for trauma that we wouldn't want to do that, but generally that's what we would be focusing on. And that then gives people the freedom over time to, I want to say, like feel more expansive. I don't ever want to try to shrink the woman that's in. I want you to feel bigger, wider, like all around and connected to everything. Is that something that you have experienced?
Absolutely, because I also, this might sound weird, but I always liked dancing. Yeah. But as I said before, in certain parts of my culture, dancing women have a certain label. You dance for the entertainment of men, not because you enjoy the movement. And so since I started with Pilates and kind of started to find my peace with my body, I also started dancing at home. Just listening to songs I love and just for a few minutes, just dance. I have 2 cats, and every time I dance at home alone, they give me these weird looks. But that was new, and in the beginning I thought, is this weird?
No.
And it made me actually sad that I thought it's weird. That I felt so insecure of my body moving and seeing it move, and just feeling also the parts of my body that move. So
yeah, that makes sense to me.
With what you just said, the expansion, I think that's also why it always feels like every time I came to your studio within these past months, it was like every time I came out with more breath. I felt more inspired, and I felt like I'm coming to a family that just allows me to be myself and helps me to learn more about myself. Although we never talk about these things during the class.
Exactly.
So it's not like you just sit and then you talk and then you do Pilates. No, you just go there, get your stuff together, go on the reformer or on the mat, and you do this stuff. But this is what happened within my time at the studio.
Because I think there's a process of... yes, we don't. So I don't, for the people at home, it's not like we do have deep discussions in there, but it's not like everyone, it's not every class that's like that, or every interaction, because that would feel maybe a little bit heavy, but it's there, it's present. And I think that sometimes it's like this spark of initiation of a deconstruction process about how we think and feel about our bodies, about what is it that you need to let go, not you like the Gülden in front of me, but like the person that's there in the movement, because you have to sort of go back, and when it's in a good day and we could just we're breathing, we're teaching, we're moving, and sometimes we could just throw in hey, what's that thought that's in the background at this point? If I could, sometimes I see it and I could catch it, the face change of someone that's in front of me is like, I'm not good at this, or, oh, I was just judging this, or, whatever. There's a thought process that's going in the background. And so when things go really, really well, is we can also give space to deconstruct some of those thoughts that are happening in the background.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times they don't actually, I want to say they belong to us, but they don't really belong to us. They've been given to us from different ideologies, from different, like all over the place, society, communities, religions, all the things. Not to put any specific one. It's all of them have something. And just to recognize, what do I want to believe in? What do I want to believe about my body or my femininity or my strength or all of those things? And I think that's a process. Not all of it's going to happen in a Pilates class.
No. I was lucky. Maybe I came to at the perfect time, perfect for me.
Yeah.
Because I would say 5 years ago, I think I wouldn't have come to your place. And interestingly, I don't know if I ever told you, I was in your newsletter already a year before I showed up.
Ooh.
So I had the thought.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, usually for work reasons, I don't have time now for this. I have to deal with this stress and try it in another way, in a different way. But then I came to your 10-year celebration, I think it was, and the whole atmosphere of that studio, it felt like I stepped into Narnia through a cupboard, and a whole new world opened up, international people. I was like, what is going on here? Is this really happening right now? And I needed that feeling. So I think it's different for everyone.
Of course.
And I know that there is this trend with Pilates. It's sexy, it's cool, it has a certain vibe. And I like that too, but it also gives you something, I would even say more spiritual, more skills to learn more about yourself, then it's a win-win.
Yeah.
It's a sexy sport and cool vibe sport, but it also helps you to self-improve. And maybe it's also the right timing, because now I'm at this age, no kids, no partner, no husband, so I already don't fit in certain categories. I thought, okay, I could just end up alone. I have no guarantee that I might meet someone, or someone with a family, a partner that maybe brings a dog or other cats or kids, whatever. I don't have a guarantee for that. So I have to find a way to work things out with myself. And that, I think with that job, those were topics I didn't really want to look at. Because those are deep topics. You have to dig deep into what I expect from my life? What is it what I want for the next, 40, 50 years? Yeah. And another effect I would like to mention out in this conversation is, especially the studio being, there are men.
Yeah.
Of course. And I'm not anti-men.
No.
Not at all.
Yeah.
But I needed a space where I'm surrounded by more women than men. And that's the reason I never felt good in gyms.
Yeah.
I always felt like watching a parade in gyms, and I didn't want to be a part of that parade. And I know people don't look at you while you're in a gym usually, but I felt like they were looking at me, and that I was under a constant pressure, a pressure I already had the whole day at my work. Yeah. So with your studio, with those Pilates classes, I was surrounded by so many women, different stories, but at the same time, still the same topics.
Yeah. I just want to take a quick break to talk about the behind the scenes of running your Pilates business. If managing your studio feels like a balancing act, it's time to check out our season sponsor, Offering Tree. This all-in-one business platform handles website building, bookings, client management, and marketing workflows to help you add and retain more clients. Book a demo or try it free today using the link in our show notes to see how Offering Tree can transform your studio operations. Studio plans start at $100 a month and include an exclusive support studio owner community plus bi-monthly business coaching calls. Offering Tree isn't just software, they are your business partner. Check out Offering Tree in the show notes. And now back to our conversation with Gülden Hennemann.
And that's a companionship I didn't expect, and that was the biggest surprise. And that also helped me with my work to understand I'm not only doing this to prevent the next terror attack. Yeah. I'm also engaging more and more in those kind of topics, women's rights, how young girls, children grow up in our societies, democratic values. I mean, we didn't want to get too deep into politics, but it has an effect. The world is changing. I'm not afraid of change, but I'm concerned about certain changes that might stick to our societies and take certain rights from us away. Yeah. And I don't want to just watch happening that. I'm willing to speak about it and stand against it as good as I can. And those kind of thoughts and inspiration for some sort of more engagement in society also came with that experience by Pilates and the studio and meeting all these women. Yeah. And that showed me I'm not alone with my fears, with my insecurities, with certain panic attacks. But I always had the feeling I was able to talk to you guys openly about it. Am I allowed to say guys? Yeah. On a female podcast?
I know. You know, like
it's just an American thing. And,
I know. Yeah. I was teaching this morning and I was like, okay, guys. And I was like, hey, wait, what do we want to say now?
Gals? I don't know. Yeah.
I changed to party people.
Party people. Okay, you party people. I like that, yeah.
It was like 8:45 in the morning. Okay, party people, let's go. It was like after
for example,
hours.
Today. Yeah. So that's also something that changed. Usually I would, and that's something that comes from my job, in a certain position when you have so much responsibility, that's what I at least experienced. I always put a lot of pressure on myself, and even when I was sick or didn't feel good, I put a lot of pressure on myself and just said, you cannot be sick now because what would the other people think? What would all the men think? My bosses. And I realized also maybe partly on the hard way, because within the last 5 years I lost friends who, one of them was my age and he died at the age of 40. And so I have no guarantee to wake up tomorrow and be healthy and just be alive. So I don't want to hurt myself by putting too much pressure on due to stupid reasons and do things my body is kind of refusing because it doesn't feel that way. So that was the reason why I thought this morning, so am I able to do some physical exercises in a studio? And I had the feeling today it's not possible. And before I would have been very harsh with myself. I would have said, oh, you're such a failure for not going there. Look at all these other girls. They're always so on top. And now I'm like, I don't care what other people think. Because in the end, it's my body. I have to take care of this body because this one keeps me alive. Yeah. This one allows me to live the life I want. And so I became more friendly with myself. And that's a new experience.
Oh, yes. Yeah. No, I know. I mean, from my my experience of like professional dance to the change over to what I experience now is much different, and to reprogram how I think about myself, how I speak to myself, how the type of discipline that I show. Like I'm also a very intense person. Yes, we know that. But, giving myself grace, I've been doing a lot more of that lately with, the whole situation with Christian, and trying to find my way also through that, and having days like, no, we're not working out, we're not doing anything. Like, if I get 5 minutes of meditation in, that's great. Like I'm in survival mode, and that's just the way it is. But having the freedom to do that, and also
not being judgmental about yourself so hard, because the world outside is judging us and other people enough. So less judgment about yourself, and just accept that life is not like the same every day. It changes, and I think that's also, there is some sort of beauty in it, that it's not the same every day. It seems like the same every day, but the vibes are different. There are energetic shifts. There is information coming in that might change your whole energy for a day, positive and negative in both ways. So, and that's what I see with young women often, especially also in this environment I work, in the police, in the intelligence world, and also within parts of the prison world. They are ambitious, which is good. Yeah. And I love that, to see that they are ambitious. But sometimes I'm concerned that some of them might be too hard on themselves, on the mistakes they will make. Yeah. And even that, accepting, even the next 50 years, we will still make mistakes. Yeah. And even in such a situation, not to be judgmental to yourself too much, and just accept that tomorrow is a new day. You will try again. Yeah. You learn something. That's what I wish for, like the younger generation, because I see how men judge women when we make mistakes. Mm-hmm. So I always had this, not only me, but also other female colleagues, we had to put more effort in things. We had to prove ourselves. And in my case, with the Turkish background, growing up in the 80s, 90s, in a society that was not so open, especially in Bavaria, not so open to foreigners, I always had the feeling that it's not only my gender, but it's also the cultural background my family brings in. So it was a constant show of, like in Heidi Klum's, what is the show called? Germany's Next Top Model. Like, it's a constant struggle to get the next picture, so you can stay in the game. And that's, I think, something that is starting to change, because people are understanding that it's not fair. Because I have enough male colleagues, or had enough male colleagues, who did not even half of what I did. Yeah. And had a huge career. Right. And that's also something I believe people are aware of it. People are speaking out about that more than before. Yes, absolutely. And I think that's a positive outcome and a positive development. Yeah. And absolutely. And it's, I think it's having conversations like this, and exactly what you're saying is, like, we have a lot of listeners that are women that are thinking about opening their businesses. They're women that are just starting to teach Pilates, and from the messages that I get and that Christian gets, like, they're trying things out, and when they make mistakes, they're so hard on themselves. Mm-hmm. But you cannot be great at anything without making mistakes. Yeah. You can't be a great business owner. You can't be a great leader. You can't be a great teacher. Any of that without really doing some major mess ups. Yeah. But the thing is, like, being brave enough to make the mistake, to learn from it. And that's where the gold is to learn from the thing. But if we're always timid and holding back and into that box that we were talking about before, of like, okay, you're allowed this amount of power,
then we're not going to get
No, and
to the
it's so
places.
interesting, and that's actually something I was always kind of watching, like in a documentary, men who almost constantly made mistakes. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. So he makes the mistakes, and no one really says something about it, and he thinks he's the biggest deal in the business.
Yeah.
And I make one mistake, and it's a huge topic, and there is conversations with the boss and telling me, you shouldn't repeat that, and I'm like, what the?
Yeah.
So
But
even being aware of it,
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
it's really kind of giving me hope that we are still on the right path. Nothing is lost yet.
But it's also like being a female business owner and having employees, noticing that I'm thinking of two in specific that had really awful male bosses before, and my attitude is if there's a mistake, like we'll work through it. Like, I got your back. Like, we're a family, we're doing this together. And if something happens and if I don't like it, we'll talk about it and we'll correct and go forward. I've never raised my voice. I've never, there's mistakes are happening so we can learn as an organization to do better in the future. So that's also a learning curve for me as as a leader right now, is like, how do I lead from this place and give my employees the freedom to own that and not think about it, like really own it, because I know that they care about what we do. It's not a question about caring.
Yeah.
It's like a mistake happens because whatever, I didn't give them enough information, or like whatever it is. But to celebrate, almost like that's what we should be doing, is celebrating the mistakes. Hey, you tried it. Great. Okay, now what?
Yeah.
Like, what can you learn? What can I learn as the boss? And what organizational, like in the case of the studio, what is missing in my infrastructure so that my people feel emboldened to make strong decisions? And also, where am I missing, my net of information? Like, where do I need to fill those holes in? Where do you need the education? Where do our standard operating procedures need some more help?
Yeah, and I think, so in German you have this term, it's called Fehlerkultur. You can translate it as mistake culture. We don't have it.
Yeah.
So German society tends to want to be the best in class, in Europe, in whatever, in the world. Never does any mistake, so we are just perfect. So, and what I learned is, with every mistake and kind of embracing the mistake and still being courageous enough to risk something and to try new paths.
Right.
New paths you would never have seen, you would have never had seen without the mistake that happened. I think that there is some kind of magic in it. And that's, I think, something we should, especially the younger generation of women, if they're not learning it from their families or their peer groups, that we should also try to show them and teach them it is part of the process, meaning you get better by making mistakes. It's not something, it's not a fault.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge mindset, mind shift.
Yeah.
Mind state?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mind shift.
Mind shift.
Yeah.
Because it frees you.
It does. And it's also when we're, so way that my instructors are trained in the studio, this is something that we often talk about, is the client, that the person that's moving in front of you will often do things where you're like, wow, that was not what I thought was going to happen. But to go with it and embrace it, because yes, they went with it. And what can we do to learn from that? Like, that's not a mistake. It's an opportunity for us to do a different exercise. Great. We'll do your exercise and we'll come back to mine. And it's as simple as that. It's not about, it's about embracing that, like, hey, that exercise didn't work. We fell off the thing, safely, of course,
Of course.
you toppled over. Awesome. You tried it. What if we try this? What if we try this? And so it could be built in that mistake culture could be built right into the learning environments that we're providing. Yeah. And in doing so, I believe that we teach people more courage.
Absolutely. And I think it's so beautiful to see during your classes that even if you see the leg is not in the correct position, you mention it, you help understand why it should be higher or how your breathing should be and what the reason is. So you also try to explain why it makes a difference. And experiencing the difference, it's always like, this is interesting. Yeah. So it's a constant learning procedure during a class in your studio without having the pressure, I have to learn something now. And that's so...
It's like a playground, right?
Absolutely. And it's so nice to get criticized, but not feeling it as a criticism. It's a support system that helps every individual in the studio to become the version she wants to be or he wants to be. And that's the support system I wish we would also have in our societies.
Yeah. Because
that's under a certain danger, under a certain pressure, and people are so scared of the future and now even of the present. And I'm like, this world has seen so many crises. Yeah. We will get through this. I still stay positive and optimistic, not naive. I see the problems, but even in a small world like Pilates, in a Pilates studio, you can create an impact on every person that goes there. And that impact can also have another impact on their own peer group.
Yes.
And that's how society can start to change.
Exactly. That's it. Thank you. Because that's exactly why we're having conversations like this. Because it's an opportunity. The world is really scary right now. And the thing that I don't like is when I feel powerless.
Yes.
And when we rewrite it, we are in charge of the only thing we're in charge of is ourselves, and then we can influence our little community that we have. And we have this great opportunity within our studio spaces, within our businesses, within our friendship circles to make a positive impact.
Absolutely.
And that will spread slowly. And again, I'm just like you, I'm really not naive, but it's the hope that we need to go forward, to get through this dark time.
Absolutely.
We will get through it.
Yeah. And hope is like the fuel to everything. Because if you lose hope, and that's what extremists love, that people lose hope. They hate people who are optimistic. They hate people who are hopeful. And because they nurture their ideologies with anxiety, fear, chaos, no hope at all. So the mistake I would say most people make in their thinking is we need a big solution on the highest level in our societies or politics, and then the world gets better. No, the world always started to get better when the root, we as part of a society were active. And when you look to every human rights movement, women's rights movement, where did it start? It didn't start in any parliament. Yeah. So it started within society, and people underestimate so much the impact they can have in their neighborhood, in their families, in their peer groups. And if this episode helps people to remember that, we don't need the big solution. We can also start small. And it will still have an impact. Win-win.
Win-win, that's the word. Win-win. If you had parting words of advice, maybe. I know this is...
wise words from me? Yeah. Oh my God.
Words of advice that can go for either instructors, studio owners or just women in general at this time?
So people always, or what I thought would help me, people would always say, be authentic, which is important. I get that. But in German you have the word Glaubwürdigkeit, so you also have to be trusting. So I think the combination
Of trustworthy.
yes, makes a difference, because then it's not only this is me, this is how I work, and this is how my studio works, and how my company, but also standing for certain values, standing for a certain even view on topics, on how a studio should be run, or how customers should be treated. I think when we just stay in that original space, especially as women, and not try to copy anything, then I think we can get the biggest outcome of it. So I would say never copy anyone. Have role models, no problem with that. But in the end, I think the charming part is, who is the real Hannah? Who is the real Gülden? Well, we have our own charms that we bring into our work. And that's some sort of magic. And I would not want to live in a world where people are just copying each other and looking what's on Instagram and on TikTok and what trend is now hyped on social media. Go out to the world, talk to people, get inspired, but just stay true to yourself. And if you don't know who is your true self, well, then enjoy the journey. And it's so comforting. I'm glad I'm not 25 now. I'm so happy to be at this age, because I would say it's a privilege also. I'm grateful every day that I can enjoy this time I'm having now. And I also would never say, oh, I want to be young again. No, every age has its own beauty. And for the young women out there, don't be afraid to get older. It really is a privilege. And I think with that, and being courageous enough about life, and just taking risks sometimes. I mean, every risk I took turned out to be the biggest blessing I could ever had. So yeah, I don't know if those wise words might help, but yeah.
I think those are the wise words that we'll take for celebrating International Women's Day. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your passion for what you do and helping others.
I have to thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about it, and I hope the listeners and the audience had a bit of fun also,
I think
and enjoyed
fun.
it.
We're fun type of ladies. All right, you guys, everyone at home, thank you so very much. We're wishing you happy teaching, and we'll see you next week, same time. Bye, you guys.